All right, this is gonna be a long video. You might stay with me. It'll make sense. You might have to watch it a couple times to make it make sense. And I'll try to stay gathered. But I'm gonna start at Genesis 6. A lot of people don't really fully understand what happened in Genesis 6. That the sons of God, which is angels, the ones that rebelled, Lucifer, right, saw women that they were beautiful and took them for wives. Um, and then they had children with them, offspring. And you can see right here, the offspring were the Nephilim, but they were giants, right? And it got so wicked that they were, man, they wound up just being cannibalistic. And then God's like, all right, I gotta flood this thing out. And Noah found grace. Noah was probably the last, genetically pure human left on the earth after this event. And that's why God flooded the earth. And then talking, and again, bear with me. I'm not super have everything super intact. It's in Daniel 2. It's a prophecy, an end time prophecy, where he sees a kingdom, part clay and part iron, and the kingdom will be divided. But the key part I want you to see right here is, as you saw iron mixed with clay, they will mingle with the seed of men. Just think of that. They will mingle with the seed of men. And I think you know what that is. But that's somebody's gonna mingle with the seed of men. And Jesus said, it'll be just like the days of Noah when he returns. So again, the days of Noah, you had fallen angels, mating with women biologically and having offspring. And then here you have, and again, Daniel's seeing something a few thousand years ago, and he has no definitions of what he's actually probably seeing, or doesn't have the terminology of how to explain it. But it'd be like me seeing something 3,000 years from now that doesn't exist or near even existing. And I have to try to say, well, it's kind of like this, it's kind of like that, but they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere, just as iron doesn't mix with clay. Remember, we are made from the dirt. If you go to, and real quick before I go there, it says, so this is at the end, because it says right after this, it says, in those days, these kings of God will set up a kingdom which will never be destroyed, and that kingdom shall not be left to other people. So this is talking about the millennial reign, 1,000 years after when Jesus does return. So this event happens, then this event happens. But if we go to Genesis, I think 1, we were made in the sixth day. It talks about how man is created in his image, right? Jesus was man. And then it says, where is it? I'm sorry. Bear with me. I got background noise. I'm sorry. I asked everybody to be quiet, and it's a little loud. But and then the Lord formed man of the dust of the ground, right? So we're made of dirt, right? When we die, we become dirt again. Ashes to ashes, dust into dust. And so we're made of dirt, clay, whatever you want to call it. So going back to Daniel's prophecy, right? It says they will mingle with the seed of man. They will mingle with the seed of man. So they're gonna try to mix iron with clay. And in my opinion, that's transhumanism, that's robotics, right? AI. And he's a leader eating up with it, with transhumanism, people like Elon. And there's a bunch of them, Jeff Bezos. But so this is the final kingdom. And just like the days of Noah, right? They mix angelic seed with man. They're going to try to mix iron with man, but they're not going to adhere, as it say, just as iron does not mix with clay. And think of like the movie Iron Man, right? Where you have a man walk into an iron costume and it's laced with AI. It's kind of symbolic of what it looks. And it's kind of funny. Elon was in one of it. So the next place I want to go is Alice Bailey. I don't know if you ever heard of Alice Bailey, but she lived, and this kind of tells you right here. This is when she lived. She died right after Israel became a nation again. But she started the New Age movement, and the New Age is eating up the youth today. And they've mixed, like some Christianity, some Buddhism, some Islam. They talk about Christ consciousness. The kingdom of God lives within you. You see, we can become like God. It's the lie of Genesis all over again. Well, anyway, Alice Bailey, her company, so she published like 20 something books back in the day, and I have proof. Like there's one on eBay right now, but she named her company the Lucifer Publishing Company, and then she quickly changed it to Lucis Trust. So originally it was the Lucifer Publishing Company, which is kind of crazy. But if you read right here, the Lucis Trust, they're very big into the United Nations. And the United Nations has 4 locations, the main one being in New York City. And there's also one in Geneva, Switzerland. Geneva, Switzerland's a really odd place too, because you have the World Economic Forum there, the World Health Organization, you have CERN, and then you have the United Nations there, one of their 4 locations. So the United Nations is one of the things that I am watching, kind of to trying to usher in this new world order, whatever you want to call it, Agenda 2030, and I'll show you in a little bit. But her office, actually Lucis Trust, is located at 866 United Nations Parkway. Anytime you hear the number 6, 666 is the beast. Again, a lot of symbolism, a lot of quote unquote coincidences, if you want to say that. I don't think it's coincidences. But if you look at transhumanism right here, right, it tells you the definition: artificial intelligence integration. It doesn't say AI. That's what we have now, but integration in what? Iron and clay, right? Brain computer interfaces. The mark of the beast says it'll be in their forehead or on their right hand. Genetic engineering, kind of like the days of Noah, right, with the angels and man creating giants. Life extension, anti-aging technologies, blah blah blah. Here are some of the people that are for it. You have Peter Thiel, Elon, Bezos. They don't have them listed right here, but Bezos, one of them. There's a bunch of them. I think Jared Kushner is one of them. But if you look here, here's the Lucis Trust Company, and you can see how they kind of mix. It's not even a real cross; it's the plus sign, which that's another questionable thing with the Knights Templar and some nefarious things there. But you got the pyramid in it, But you can see here Geneva, right? Geneva, London. Just nefarious things. So you can like look at our bookstore. Your triangles. I don't know what the heck. Some weird stuff. This New Age stuff. And in my opinion, what they're trying to usher in will be our Antichrist, the Christian Antichrist. They're trying to usher in the Christ. They actually call him the Christ. The Christ is coming. So when he comes, they're gonna. I guarantee one part of the great deceptions are gonna be Jesus and Muhammad and Krishna and Buddha. They were all one of us. They were one of these teachers, and I am the real one. They all work for me, kind of thing. Diminish the role of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Not to be confused with quote unquote the Christ. But if you look at 866, this is the building right here. 866. Well, you can see right here, United Nations Parkway. She's looking at a statue on the grounds. It's kind of funny in United Nations buildings right here. But looking at this statue, right, and you have Saint Michael defeating the dragon. And it actually says right here, if you go to Revelation 12, and a war broke out, Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, right? And the dragon and the angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor a place was found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, the devil, blah, 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 blah. So again, this is New York City. Which another crazy thing, like, I don't want to get too, because this video will last too long, but if you go to Revelation 9:11, which 9:11 obviously is famous for New York City, Revelation 9:11, and they had a king over them, the angel of the bottomless pit, and in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek he was Apollo, right? In Greek mythology. So it's like the return of him. And, in my opinion, Greek mythology is not a myth. I used to think it was. There's a reason they taught this stuff to us in school. Like, why are we learning if it's a myth? That's a whole different rabbit hole I could get down and show you, like, evidence of like temples to him. Like, if you go to Mount Olympus, where the Olympics started, with Zeus. I mean, it gets really crazy. They have temples all throughout the world, especially in the Greece region. But here's Matthew 24. It says, this is the end times, famous end times chapter in Matthew. But it says, as in the days of Noah, so will it be when the Son of Man comes. So when Jesus returns, it's going to be just like Noah all over again. Remember, God flooded the earth for Noah. He said he would never do that. He gave us a rainbow. It will obviously burn and at the end, and then he'll create new. And then, this is, again, Genesis 6 again, which we already talked about, so I'm going to exit that out. So let's see. So this is the mark of the beast. This is the famous, actually, Revelation 13. I don't know why I have Revelation 19. Let me go to Revelation 13. So this is what I wanted. So when Antichrist comes, he required everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark on the right hand, right? In some translations, it says in. So in, on, that's a big difference. Like, is it in or on? Or on their forehead, like, or if it's in their forehead, that's in the brain, right? And if you think of like Neuralink with Elon and stuff, which, he's already claiming, like last week he claimed, it's going to give Jesus like miracles. The blind will see again. I mean, it's crazy. Like, we're in a crazy time. But anyway, it says, and no one could buy or sell anything without that mark, which either the name of the beast or the number representing his name. Wisdom is needed here. Let anyone with understanding solve the meaning of the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, of a man. His number is 666. But in movies, they show you all the time, crazy things. This will show you a lot of symbolism. And this is in Thor, and Thor, in my opinion, is representing Satan himself and how he fell out of heaven. And I'm going to play this real quick for you. And it's kind of funny they show the symbolism of God, really God on a horse, and that's how Jesus returned on a horse, on a white horse. In the book of Revelation, it talks about.
Father, we'll finish them together. Silence.
Oh, Father. You look weary.
And in my opinion, these demons, these are the fallen angels, representing the fallen angels that rebelled in Genesis 6.
Alfie, end this now.
Your boys sought this out.
You're right. These are the actions of a boy. Treat them as such. You and I can end this here now, before there's further bloodshed.
We are beyond diplomacy now, Old Father. He'll get what he came for. War and death.
So be it.
What you've done, what you've started. I was protecting my home. You cannot even protect your friends.
So this part here is representing Satan being thrown out of heaven.
You hope to protect the kingdom. Get into the healing room. No! There won't be a kingdom to protect if you're afraid to act. The Jotuns must learn to fear me, just as they once feared you.
That's pride and vanity talking, not leadership. You've forgotten everything I taught you. But a warrior's patience.
While you wait and be patient, the Nine Realms laugh at us. If the old ways are done, you'd stand giving speeches while Asgard falls.
You are a vain, greedy, cruel boy!
And you are an old man and a fool!
Yes. I was a fool. To think you were ready.
Father.
Hey! Thor, Odin's son, you have betrayed the express command of your king. Through your arrogance and stupidity, you have opened these peaceful realms and innocent lives to the horror and desolation of war.
Notice he said desolation in the book of Revelation, and also Matthew talks about, how the Antichrist, he'll leave it desolate. So I mean, a lot of the terminology they use, and obviously, Satan fell. The number one reason Satan fell from heaven is his pride. He wanted to replace the seat of God.
You are unworthy of these realms. You're unworthy of your title. You're unworthy of the loved ones you have betrayed. I now take from you your power. In the name of my father and his father before. I own it all, Father! Cast you out!
But yeah, that's how they do it. And like even Infinity War, and I hate to keep referring to like Marvel movies, but they definitely twist everything. And obviously the bad guy's good and the good guy's bad. But all the superheroes that are trying to beat Thanos in Infinity War's Endgame, Thanos is actually representing God, and these fallen angels are trying to find out a way that they can take him down. Also, that's kind of, so there's a book that was written. It was called The Black Awakening, and it's an expensive book. It shouldn't be. It should be like $20. And there's a lot of misspelled words in it, because you could tell the author didn't have a lot of help in publishing. He probably did it solo. But if you go on Amazon, The Black Awakening, it's like a $700 book. You might be able to get it for like $200. I bought a copy on eBay for like $40-$50. But it talks about, so this guy was a chaplain. He was a pastor, but he was a chaplain for the Akron, Ohio Police Department. And he dealt with a lot of satanically, ritually abused people that were dealing with multiple personality disorder, hearing voices, changing personality. It's really crazy how deep this stuff goes. But, these people are actually waiting for Revelation 19:19 to happen, where Jesus actually comes in a cloud. They think Lucifer has people convinced that he can beat God or beat Jesus in the end times. At Revelation 19:19. Obviously, Satan knows he's going to lose, but, he's the master deceiver. Unfortunately, a lot of people fall for it. But listen to this. Again, I think a big part of the great deception that Jesus talks about, that would come at the end time, that even the elect could fall for the deception. I believe the Great Awakening in itself, there's a lot of people waking up to truth, like what's in our air, what's in our water, what's in deodorant products, what's chemtrails, big farm, the money system, banking system. So many people. But in my opinion, it's a manufactured move to show us all the ugliness, and a lot of people are waking up to it. A lot of people still haven't been exposed to it yet, but they created the problem, and they're gonna have the solution. In my opinion, the Antichrist will have the solution. It's kind of like, we stirred up this big mess. Oh, here's a solution. Come take this. So I'm starting to think the Great Awakening is the great deception. But listen to this. This might. I'm not saying there's no truth here, but you can remember the mark of the beast, right? How they integrate. I don't think it's just going to be a money system. I think it's going to be a beautification. How can you live longer? Me. How can we can extend your life 500 years? You anti-aging, anti-wrinkling. We can detect a heart attack before it happens. Biometrics. Robert, RFK is talking about wearing wearables where it could detect like a problem before it happens. But let's take a listen to this.
Affidavits and information about neurostrike technologies being used against the brains of civilians over there. Same thing that's happening here. So I went over there, contacted those people, exchanged information, and then about a week ago, I come to find out that they're having these hearings. Okay. So a lot of people contact me, say, "Are you going to be talking?" and whatever. And it's my opinion that this committee, whilst it's may have good intentions, most of the people on it have no idea what they're talking about in this realm at all. None. Zero. Not even Tulsi Gabbard, actually. I've met Tulsi Gabbard. I've also met the CIA director in Texas, and that guy has no idea about this at all. He's totally in the wrong position for this and should sit down and shut up, because he just doesn't know what he's talking about. Because if he did know what he was talking about, he would have told the American people immediately of what the neuroscience is and how they're going to fuse the brain and the body and mix it with all the biometrics and banking into the new system and attempt the complete technological technocracy takeover that has been suggested and told by Walter Bard and myself for a very, very long time. For a very long time. So what I've decided to do, and I've mentioned it to some people at this point, is there's no point testifying before a congressional committee or anything. It's just showboating bullshit. And those people can't get anything done anyway. It's too late for that. I will be addressing the New Republic, though. I'm not going to address the dead corporate fiction of the United States of America and its total lying on its deathbed scenario as we are going into a new era where this whole transition is going to be taking place starting in June, because this is a behavioral thing. This is behavior that they are engineering to put everybody into place. Now, this is the most important thing that I'll say on this entire thing. Most people that are immersed in electronics and communications right now did not rebut any of the user agreements that they were given upon getting their new phones and computers. For instance, I guarantee you on your phone that you do not read all your updates and to these new contractual consent policies of merging the brain and computer and then accessing all that data from the brain computer infusion, and they're going to own it. Okay, you've already agreed to that. You don't know it yet, right? You don't know it yet because you haven't rebutted any of your agreements that you have with your computers, your emails, all the apps that you have, all your communications, everything having to do with your physical being and I'm talking about you, Nina, your specific identity and how it relates in the digital environment. They own it all. They own it all. And they can change it all if they feel like it. This is one of the dangers. So I will probably give a statement that I will permit on a network to the congressional committee, but I will be addressing the New Republic, and I will be speaking to somebody quite shortly about that is a guest of yours, 107, about that, because when I was with him in South Africa, in Cape Town, actually, I was speaking.
So I think that's all you have to hear on that. But you hear the brain being tied in, digital ID, the banking system. He goes on. I don't want to play too much of this video, but how they're they're openly wanting to tie the brain. And again, you go back to the book of Revelation, and the mark of the beast will be in the forehead or in the right hand, specifically right hand, not left hand. That's very compelling or very scary, actually. But I wanted to So there's one. I hate to keep playing. This will be the last thing I'll play as far as movie wise. But this movie was called The Uglies, and this is definitely showing you the mark of the beast. A beautification, a very dystopian, world. And look, people want to be pretty. They don't want to age. Anti-wrinkling, anti-spot. And that's going to be the bait. Most people are gonna, again, it's going to go back to, early in Genesis, when the serpent lied to Eve, you can become like God. That's going to be the lie. This New Age movement, this New Age religion, Alice Bailey is ushering us into. But here, watch this.
Allie is a girl who has dreamed her whole life of becoming pretty. Her best friend, Piries, is about to have the operation, but until then, they often sneak out at night to observe the city, where those who have already undergone the surgery live. Callie marvels at how none of them seem to feel excluded or unhappy. She is impatient, but she still has to wait 3 months for her operation, while Piries will be transformed the next morning. They met when they were children, after Tally's parents took her to the school where she would stay until she turned 16. Piries, known as Big Nose, quickly became her friend and nicknamed her Cross Eyes due to her slightly misaligned eyes. One night, on the bridge that separates the city of the Pretties, they promise to be best friends forever, sealing their pact with a cut on the palms of their hands.
Now, I don't know if you caught that, symbolism, right? So the guy's going to have the surgery, the girl's not yet. His right hand is cut. Remember, the mark of the beast will be in the right hand, and her left hand is cut for the pact. So she doesn't take it. Just again, they show you subtle symbolism, and until you kind of see what's going on, you can't pick up on it. But I'm starting to thanks be to God, to have that trained eye of to see these things before.
On the bridge that separates the city of the Pretties, they promise to be best friends forever, sealing their pact with a cut on the palms of their hands. Now that Piries is about to have the surgery and move in with the Pretties, he promises Tally that he won't forget her and that he won't erase the scar on his hand. They agree to meet on the bridge in a month so Piries can tell her what life is like on the other side. The next morning, at the graduation assembly, Dr. Cable, the district governor, announces that the procedure will make them pretty, both inside and out, eliminating hatred and discrimination based on physical appearance. When the ceremony ends, Tally says goodbye to Piries with a tight hug, reminding him of their meeting on the bridge in a month. During the following weeks, Tally undergoes several scans in preparation for her upcoming surgery. She thinks about the changes she wants to make, like the color of her eyes or her hair. She tries to contact her friend Piries, but he doesn't respond to any of her messages. A month later, Tally waits until dark to hack her bedroom window and escape. She arrives at the bridge, hoping to meet Piries, but is disappointed to find he isn't there. Worried about what might have happened to him, she crosses the bridge into the city. Thanks to a mask, she can see how beautiful everything is there.
And if you see the masks, in a lot of these, they say satanic rituals. These elite parties, they wear masks. If you look into the Rothschilds, you'll see it.
Finally, she finds Piries, who now has blonde hair and a fixed nose. But it's not just his appearance that has changed. When he sees her, Piries doesn't recognize her at first, until Tally takes off the mask. He tells her he doesn't remember what they talked about a month ago and that he even decided.
See, that's the thing. When you take the mark of the beast, in my opinion, because of the AI lace that they're going to obviously tie into the brain, it's going to override your old feelings. And it even talks about, I think in Luke 21, which is end times talk, how sister will turn on brother and mom against dad, and all this sabotage. I don't feel like anybody would turn on their own kin or friends without not, kind of like something overriding their thought. So it does get scary, and obviously they're going to say, oh, you can be the smartest person. Obviously the job industry with robotics coming in, the unemployment rate's going to shoot up. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just seeing what's going on, and you can see all this stuff. It's too much to obviously post in one little video, but I'll continue.
To erase the scar on his hand, realizing after the operation that he didn't want it. Their conversation is interrupted when Tally is identified as an intruder. She is forced to escape using a special vest that allows her to jump from great heights. She reaches the bridge but is about to be caught when a girl appears and helps her escape on a hoverboard. Together, they manage to flee and soon discover they both enjoy breaking the rules. Tally learns that the girl, named Shay, has the same birthday as her, and that the important people in her life are no longer around. The next morning, instead of going to class, Tally spends the day with Shay, who teaches her how to ride the board. Over time, they start to build a friendship. Tally shows Shay how to use her ring to get food or sneak out of the dorms at night, taking advantage of system glitches. The day before her operation, Shay talks to Tally about the possibility of not undergoing the surgery. Aging and wrinkling go against everything they've been taught, but Shay doesn't think it's such a bad idea.
See, there it is again. People loving themselves, want to be young, want to maintain their youth, wanting to have unlimited knowledge or live longer. And anybody that takes the mark of the beast, you're toast. It's over. It says, God can only save his own creation. We are made in the image of God, not the giants, not us laced with AI or robotics or having robots carrying babies. That's kind of where everything's going. It's going very dystopian, and obviously movies show it. And if you listen to these elite people, they'll tell you point blank if you're listening, especially like people like Peter Thiel, Larry Ellison, Elon, etc.
Later, they meet by a river. They both leave their rings behind so as not to be detected by the watchtowers. Then they use their boards to reach the rusty ruins, which were once a roller coaster. Although it no longer works, the magnetic boards can glide over the tracks. When they arrive at a ruined city, they climb to one of the upper floors of a building. Shay lights a fire with flint and steel and reveals to Tally that she won't have the surgery. Instead, she plans to run away to the smoke, a place where no one is judged by their appearance. Shay confesses that the night they met on the bridge, she was going to escape with some friends but got scared. However, after meeting Tally, she realized that what she really wants can't be found in the city. Once operated on, they'll tell her what to do, and she'll lose her freedom. Shay asks,
there you go, that's the truth. And, the Christians will be obviously, when they have these 15-minute cities or whatever, this dystopian world, we're called to flee to the mountains, to go to the country, to run from this system. And obviously that's what they're showing here.
Tally to come with her to be free, but Tally replies that she doesn't want to be free, she wants to be perfect. When Shay realizes that Tally won't join her, she gives her a sheet with instructions on how to find her in case she changes her mind. Then, another fire lights up in the distance, and Tally watches as her friend leaves. The next morning, Tally is ready to become pretty. After the assembly, she is taken to the operating room, where patients are called one by one. However, Tally is brought before Dr.
Did you see that sign in the background, become the new you? Just all this symbolism that ties into the Bible.
However, Tally is brought before Dr. Cable. They have discovered Shay's disappearance and believe that a man named David has brainwashed her, convincing people to trust
Kind of funny name David, right? Jesus came from the lineage of David, King David.
Them and holding them against their will. Dr. Cable asks Tally to help find Shay, but she refuses to reveal her friend's secret. As a result, her surgery is postponed, and she is sent back to her dorm until she decides to cooperate. That night, Tally receives an unexpected visit from Pires. She is happy to see him and tells him everything that is happening. After listening, Pires advises her to say everything she knows so they can be together in the city. He apologizes, explaining that his behavior is different because, after the surgery, things are no longer the same. Tally decides to help, and the doctor reveals that David plans to attack them, as he and his group believe their way of life is better. The doctor warns.
So again, when Jesus comes back, he's going to destroy this dystopian world, and that's what they're trying to get the intel on. David come back, and you'll see how they twist it, but how they tie it into it, quote unquote, being Jesus.
Warns her that David wants to use a weapon to destroy the city and its way of life. According to her, David brainwashed Shay, who is now under his control, and if she tries to leave, he could harm her. She assigns Tally the mission to find the smoke, infiltrate, and locate the weapon before it's too late, giving her a necklace she must wear when she finds the weapon. Tally's journey begins on a roller coaster that takes her to train tracks. After following them, she reaches a large wall she must climb. She then crosses a ruined path to a field of white flowers, where she waits to be found. Meanwhile, Dr. Cable meets with Pires and thanks him for convincing Tally to help. She asks how he felt when he saw her, and Pires admits that seeing her made him feel things he hadn't experienced since his surgery. Then the doctor talks to him about a new program that promises true mental clarity for people like him. Tally wakes up struggling to breathe, surrounded by fire. Luckily, David rescues her. He checks her belongings and finds a hidden tracker on her board, but he doesn't notice anything strange about the necklace she's wearing. When Dr. Cable finds out the tracker was removed from the board, she sends 2 special agents to check a 10 kilometers radius. Meanwhile, David takes Tally to an outpost where she must prove her loyalty. To her surprise, Shay is also there, and she is happy to see her. That night, Shay asks Tally who gave her the necklace. Tally decides to lie and says it was Piri's when he visited her. She then tries to convince Shay to return to the city, but Shay refuses and asks her to meet the people of the smoke first. The next day, Tally discovers that the orchids, once considered an ecological solution, are actually toxic and destroy everything in their path. So, David and his people set fires to eliminate the orchids. With the help of an old helicopter, David shows Tally the reality while Shay handles burning the plants. But Croy detects enemy movement, forcing David to descend quickly, causing Shay to fall. Tally immediately jumps from the helicopter to rescue her friend. Together, they manage to escape, although the soldiers seem unaffected by the fire. Croy suspects they were found right after Tally's arrival, but her bravery in saving Shay makes David trust her. They finally reach the smoke, a place where people grow their food, work together, and don't use money, but share and barter. Everyone is there by choice. Tally begins searching for the secret weapon but soon realizes that the people of the smoke don't need weapons or bombs to live. Their mission is to preserve nature, unlike the city, which manipulates it, making people feel lonely and insecure, with no time to think, read, learn, or dream. Tally soon gets blisters because she's not used to working, but this doesn't stop her, and she agrees to let David teach her how to use the crossbow. Later, she learns that, unlike her, David grew up there, raised by his parents. The two start growing closer, so much so that when David sees the blisters on Tally's hands, he gives her his gloves. When Shay sees this, she explains to Tally that, in that place, objects have special value because David made those gloves with his own hands. The fact that he gave them to her means he likes her. On the other hand, Shay asks Tally to make a decision, stay there or leave, as it wouldn't be fair to either David or Shay, both of whom care for Tally. During this time, Tally realizes that the people there are good, and she finds it hard to believe they possess a weapon of mass destruction. One day, while alone with David, she asks him about the supposed weapon they plan to use to annihilate the city. Upon hearing this, David asks her to follow him and takes her to a cabin where he introduces her to his parents. Tally discovering this, Dr. Cable ordered him to stop his research. They realized that these injuries weren't a side effect but the goal, meant to control everyone. David's mother and Dr. Cable were friends and underwent surgery at the same time, but because of her stubborn and rebellious nature, David's mother was invited into the inner circle, where they received a cure that restored their ability to think. However, this was only applied to the doctors, while others underwent more surgeries, turning them into automatons. Seeing what was happening, both David's mother and father decided to stop performing surgeries and age naturally. Since then, they've been offering an alternative of free thought and self-acceptance, spending the last 20 years trying to replicate the cure. In their lab, they managed to create the base serum but need a synthetic component to heal the brain injuries. This is what Dr. Cable considers the weapon. David's father is looking for a substitute, but when he finds it, he'll have to test it on volunteers, despite the risk of side effects such as seizures, brain damage, or even death. Realizing she was wrong, Tally decides to destroy the necklace and join the smoke. The next time she sees David, she tries to confess her true intentions, but he interrupts her, saying that the only thing that matters is who she is now. Tally admits that maybe, after all, she's ugly, but David thinks she's beautiful, and they kiss.
You see, obviously, a little twisted. Obviously, Jesus isn't going to fall in love with a woman. But you heard the part before that. He said he didn't care about her past. Kind of like Jesus, right? Even Paul, who was killing Christians, came to Christ, and he was forgiven. And he obviously wrote over half of the New Testament. So,
the next morning, a loud noise wakes them up. The soldiers have arrived. However, these are not ordinary soldiers. They have superhuman strength and speed. Tally and David manage to hide and watch as everyone is captured. Tally is shocked to see Piri's among the soldiers, while David's parents try to stop Dr. Cable. Dr. Cable is looking for David, and when she gets no response, she orders Piri's to kill his father. Tally, stunned, appears, unable to believe what her best friend has done. Upon seeing her, Dr. Cable recognizes Tally and exposes her in front of everyone, including Shay and David. To make matters worse, she mentions that the procedure to make everyone there perfect is already scheduled. However, Tally manages to reach a hut and blow it up, buying enough time to escape with David. The rest are taken to the ships while the laboratory and all its contents are destroyed. Tally reaches a cave where she tries to explain to David that she didn't know destroying the necklace would call them, but it no longer matters. David is determined to rescue them and will need Tally's help since she knows the city and how to enter the building where they will be held. Upon arriving at the school, Tally encounters some classmates who wanted to join the smoke. Seeing David, they decide to help, and Tally orders them to create a distraction in the sky. This triggers the city's alarms, and the soldiers go out to investigate. Meanwhile, Tally and David infiltrate the building where the prisoners are held. They quickly encounter a guard, whom David overpowers and takes his ring. With its help, they manage to free their people, but Shay is not among them, as she was taken for surgery. Tally, along with David and his mother, tries to stop it, but they arrive too late. Shay has been perfected, and both her appearance and behavior have drastically changed. Peary's and Dr. Cable arrive shortly after, forcing them into one of the machines for their surgery. Dr. Cable explains that if people have the option to choose, they will end up destroying the world. In fact, they almost did, so humanity needs to be guided, and only some are fit to do so. Just as the surgery is about to begin, Croy appears and destroys the place with a flamethrower. David's mother takes advantage of the distraction to search through the boxes and find the missing synthetic component. Tally grabs Shay, and they all escape, but they encounter Peary's. Tally tries to remind him of their friendship, but David doesn't trust him and attacks, starting a fight. However, Peary's is much stronger. Then Tally uses the hoverboard to push him toward the edge. Peary's manages to hold on with one hand, and at the last moment, he recognizes his best friend, just before falling. With the help of the hoverboards, they manage to escape and reach the ruined city. There, David's mother hopes to complete the formula for the cure. Tally hopes to cure Shay, but she doesn't want to, and David's mother doesn't want to experiment on someone who doesn't wish to be cured. So, Tally decides to be the test subject. She is willing to undergo surgery, hoping to be cured, even at the risk that Dr. Cable might end her life. She promises not to forget who she really is, in the hope that David will forgive her and come back for her. Sometime later, Tally arrives at her new home, with a new appearance, happy to be perfect.
I don't know if you caught that last little part, but right here, she looks at her right hand after she took the mark of the beast. So at the beginning of the movie, you see right there,